Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review, a comic book podcast at longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. Today is going to be a fun episode, I hope. I'm going to be talking about the new Hawkman series from DC Comics. But first I wanted to do something that I haven't done in a very long time, and I've been very negligent about it, and that is to acknowledge some wonderful feedback that I have gotten from listeners. And what I'm going to do is read one of the iTunes or Apple Podcasts, however you want to refer to Apple's platform there. Read a review that I got there. And I'll be doing that in future episodes as well. And this one comes from Michael Lamb, who said, this is a while ago now, very nice comic podcast. I love the passion this podcast shows for the medium of comics. I really like the positivity and great discussion about the ongoing stories in Marvel, DC, and independent comics. It's refreshing and adds to my enjoyment of the series I'm already reading and gets me to try new series. This is wonderful, wonderful feedback, Michael. If you're still listening, thank you so much. This is exactly why I do the show. So it's very rewarding, to hear you, or to read the words that you wrote about it. So thank you very much again. And, I really appreciate it. And, if other people would like to, this is my hat in hand moment of the show. If anyone else would like to provide feedback to the show, and I always put this in the show notes. I don't always ask for this. I always ask for feedback, but I rarely on air ask for people to go to iTunes / Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show there. I always have in the show notes, but no big deal. So if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate it if you would go and do that. And who knows? Well, not who knows. I plan on doing this. I'll spotlight the feedback I get. So there you go. Again, Michael, thank you so much. Okay. So, this is a review of a comic that I've been looking forward to doing for a while now. I knew this series was coming out some months ago. It features one of my favorite, second tier, third tier. What is Hawkman? Second tier DC Comics heroes. I have loved Hawkman as a character, as a concept for quite a while now. I think I can never remember if Hawkman is something that I encountered first in Super Friends, the cartoon Super Friends, or if I encountered him like in a Justice League of America comic or a Justice Society of America reprint. I have one of those DC Digests that is a JSA focused one, and there's a few stories featuring the Golden Age Hawkman, and I remember reading some stuff, like I said, in Justice League of America. But it was a character that's like, oh yeah, this guy has wings. He's called Hawkman. He's got some interesting weapons that he uses, but I didn't really. I don't know. I guess I didn't really come to appreciate the character until a few years into my comic book reading, and it was probably the New Teen Titans issue number 19, where Hawkman had a guest appearance, and I think a lot of it had to do with a couple things. A lot of it had to do with the George Perez art, the way that he drew Hawkman. I love the way that Perez in particular, and other artists have had done this as well, as I recall, but just the way that Perez drew the Hawk mask on Carter Hall, and because of the way it sits on his head, I never understood how Qatar, I should say, because that was Silver Age, or modern, before the crisis happened, all the weird stuff that happened with Hawkman after Crisis. But anyway, so it was Qatar Hall from Thanagar. But the way that the mask sits, his eyes would be at the level of the bottom part of his mask. And so there's no good way that the guy could see out of that mask. But it was really cool looking. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, but just the whole not medieval, ancient aspects of the character, how he fought crime in the present with the weapons of the past. I've heard that phrase used to describe Hawkman before. I mean, guy flies around carrying a mace as his main weapon. That's just cool. Because I am currently staring at my bookshelves in front of me as I record this, and I have the Justice League animated series figures up on the shelf, and there's Hawkgirl, and she's holding her mace as well. And that, the whole mace thing carries on through a lot of different incarnations of Hawkman and Hawkgirl/Hawkwoman. But in particular, I loved how Hawkgirl, is it Hawkgirl in the Justice League cartoons, or is it Hawkwoman? I can't remember now. I'm just going to call her Hawkgirl and apologize now if I got that wrong. But not only is it a mace, but it's like a energy infused mace, which I always thought was kind of cool in that series. So anyway, like I said, Hawkman. I love the archaeology part of it, the history, the reincarnation aspects of the Hawkman character. His look, like I said, his look. He's got that hawk mask, the wings, of course. He's essentially bare chested except for the harness that holds his wings. Which, I mean, come on, that takes a lot of chutzpah. Did I say that correctly? It takes a lot of balls to bare yourself like that. There's not too many superheroic characters that do that. John Jones does. I know he wears a similar X harness on his body, which I never understood. Because it's not like Hawkman. Hawkman's, like I said, it's a harness and it holds his wings. The Martian Manhunter, it doesn't hold anything. It's just an X thing on to break up, I guess, his look. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I just like the Carter's or Hawkman he's a fighter. And I just like that aspect. He's kind of like he's been portrayed in the past as kind of angry. And so he takes out his aggressions using his weapons and on the bad guys and stuff. So I don't know, part of that just appeals to me for some reason. And also I like I mentioned the reincarnation. I liked, or I do like, I like the enduring relationship he has with his beloved, Shiera or Chiera. Starting with him as Prince Khufu in ancient Egypt, all the way through the various incarnations to now Carter Hall and Shiera, or Kendra, as the case may be. So yeah, that's like I said, the new Teen Titans appearance. There was that. There was some. He fought the Titans and Hawkman fought these avatars of Vishnu, I believe it was. Just these ancient artifacts that get brought to life through Dr. Light's incompetence, and the heroes have to defeat these creatures. Which is didn't realize this until I was taking notes for this episode. Has an interesting parallel to issue number 1 of Hawkman that I'll be getting to in a minute. So like I said, that new Teen Titans issue kind of sparked my interest in the character at that time. And since then, there was this wonderful run of Hawkman in the JSA series from the early 2000s called The Return of Hawkman. That was in 2001 issues. It starts just at the very end of issue 20 and goes through issue 25 and then through some of the series. But then and that was written by David Goyer and Jeff Johns. And Jeff Johns gets a lot of credit, and I don't know how much really was Jeff Johns. And I seem to get the sense that Johns had a lot to do with the course correction that was the Return of Hawkman story in JSA, because before that, like I said, Crisis happened and totally screwed up Hawkman. DC just made some poor choices in terms of the character and the history, and trying to fit in the Silver Age with the Golden Age aspects of the character, and then Hawkworld, and then Avatars of Hawk, and it was just a jumbled mess. And then, like I said, Jeff Johns gets a lot of credit for it. I don't know how much David Goyer had to do with it, but like I said, course corrected in the JSA series and returned the character of Hawkman to what I thought was a really cool version of him that made a lot of sense. Took a lot of the history, publication history, and the history of the character in universe and made it work to a large degree. That continued in the 2002 Hawkman series that was co-written by Johns, which I liked as well. So that's pretty much why I like Hawkman, generally speaking. If you want more about the Return of Hawkman and thoughts about that, I highly encourage you to go listen to the Comic Geek Speak episode 989 that came out December 24th, 2010. So almost, about 7.5 years ago now, a little more than 7.5 years ago now. That was a spotlight on Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and Peter Rios and the gang go through a lot of that convoluted history and talk about it and try to make sense of it. And it was just an enjoyable episode. They do the history of Hawkman and Hawkgirl justice, and I'm not here to do that. So go listen to them. Come back here or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. So Hawkman #1 from DC Comics, as it says on the cover, first issue spectacular. This is written by Robert Venditti, pencils by Bryan Hitch. Andrew Currie and Hitch are the inkers. Alex Sinclair is the colorist. Starkings and Comicraft do the letters. Hitch and Sinclair did the cover. Andrew Marino is the assistant editor, and Marie Javins is editor. Hawkman #1, Awakening Part 1, What's Past, is prologue. This, I will tell you right now, I love this issue. I love this relaunch of Hawkman. I was a little leery about what they were going to do with Hawkman coming out of the Dark Knight's Metal event, where he was the keeper of the forge, the dragon of the forge, or whatever he was in Dark Knight's Metal. But coming out of that, they brought him back more in line with Johns' version from the Return of Hawkman storyline. I'm sure there are changes since then, since Flashpoint and Rebirth and all that stuff. New 52 and Rebirth. Oh yeah, I did not particularly care for the New 52 version of Hawkman, but because I liked the character so much, I bought the first 3 or 4 issues of that series and realizing, not that good. And then next thing I knew, several years later, is that they were killing him off. And then he appeared in Dark Knight's Metal. I'm like, what the? They're doing it again. Haven't you learned, DC? But then they brought him back here in this new Hawkman series. Like I said, I love it. Bryan Hitch is he's really good at kind of like people, I say this all the time, kind of like the widescreen stuff. His run on JLA a few years back was really good. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. And so having him come to do Hawkman, I thought was one, not the widescreen stuff, put that aside for a minute. He is I just really like his art. So I was looking forward to seeing his take on this character. And Robert Venditti has been just killing it. He was on Valiant series some years ago. I think that was my first exposure to him. I can't remember the series now off the top of my head. But then he came over to DC and started writing Green Lantern, and more recently the Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps series, and that has been a lot of fun. When I first heard that he was going to be leaving Green Lantern, I was very bummed. But then I saw that he was going to be doing Hawkman, and that's just I was just tickled. So let's see here. This first issue has basically 4 major scenes. Yeah. Only a few characters in it, which in a way is unusual compared to other newer DC comics I've been reading and in some cases reviewing, such as the New Age of Heroes books that I've been doing. So we got Carter Hall, of course. There is a Greek fisherman whose name, and I apologize because I don't know how to pronounce Greek names that well. Yanis Stravopoulos, I believe. There is an ape, a guardian golem, I think is how Carter refers to this creature, called Uik Kung. And then finally, Madame Xanadu makes an appearance towards the end of the story, which also cool because I like that character. So I'm going to run through the scenes, just give you some high-level descriptions of the plot that's going on, and then some observations about each things that I really like about this series. I have read already issue number 2. I'll touch on that at the end. Spoiler alert, it continues the greatness that I'm seeing. So anyway, well, actually, we'll start with the cover of Hawkman number 1. You've got Carter here with his trademarked mace in hand. He looks like he's about ready to fight because, well, he's in the midst of a fight because there's all these hawk creatures. I think these are supposed to be like a new version of the Manhawks from the Silver Age version of the character. I mean, they have bird heads, but their bodies are like men. None of these creatures appear in the story, except maybe in the flashback 2-page spread that I'll talk about later. So why not? Everybody knows that apes sell comics. Why not put that guardian golem Uik Kung on the cover with him? But anyway, I don't make this. I'm not in charge, so what do I know? But it's a nice little heroic pose of the character, quintessential Hawkman vibe you get from him. I just want to add to the costume, such as it is. Like I said, he's bare chested except for the harness. He's got his golden helmet, the wings, of course, and then the Silver Age. I don't know. Is it? I'm blanking. Does the Golden Age character also have this look? But the green pants with the red boots and the yellow stripe going down the side. This is traditional Hawkman garb. But as I sat down to do this recording, I was looking at this cover and looking at the green pants and yellow stripe, red boots, and thinking, huh? What? Why? I mean, I certainly don't mind the look. It's like I say, it's traditional. It's what I'm used to. So this longtime comic reader just responds, to the traditional look, but I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Why green, yellow, and red, other than basic colors in comic books from eons past. But it was an odd thing that drew my attention. But anyway, nice looking cover. So you open it up and you get the first scene. This book is a little wordy at times. It's mostly Carter kind of reminiscing, ruminating really over his current state, concerned about his past and where he fits in with everything. I think this has a lot to do with him spinning out of the Dark Knight's metal. series and event. And so he's basically kind of searching for himself. And with Hawkman, that means there's a lot to search because of all of his past lives. And so he's basically on this object quest. So he goes, like I said, he's well, I didn't say, but because of the fisherman that I mentioned before, he's in Greece and he's looking for this thing that we find out is called the Nautilus. And as he dives under the water and retrieves it, and then that's when we first see Uuk Kung come to life. I want to mention the Nautilus has these bird images painted on it. So obviously has something to do with him in some way. We don't find out until later. Anyway, so first observations about Hawkman in this first little scene. As he's flying through the seas around Greece, says 12 miles south of Santorini, Greece, he finds an opening in this column of rock, which turns out to be a passageway to an underground. I was going to say lair, underground place. I'll just say, and what you first notice is Carter, with his left hand, is manipulating the hawk insignia in the middle of his chest. That it turns out to be some sort of dial, I guess, or control mechanism at the very least, a disc. And you see his wings retracting into the harness, and so he's able to fit into this narrow opening. And I don't know that I've ever seen Hawkman shown like that. And I thought that was a really cool update to the character. I could be wrong. I've not read a lot of Hawkman appearances in comics. Like I said, the most that I've read is the JSA, his own Hawkman series, and a few appearances here and there over the years. So it's new to me. The other thing I'll point out here is that where his mace is usually shown at his hip is just a rod. There's no spiked ball at the end of this handle. And at first I thought, wow, did somebody screw up? But no, it's explained a little bit later in the issue, which another thing I think is just really cool. We get a flashback scene to before these opening pages, and Carter's talking with Giannis. And the interesting thing about that is that Giannis talks about how his father during the Greek Civil War had dealings with Carter. And we actually get a similar scene with another character and Carter in issue number 2. And I really like that aspect of it, that, Carter in his archaeological, Indiana Jones-like adventures, over the years, as he either is long-lived or his reincarnations, he developed these relationships with these people. And I hope Venditti and Hitch really play that up, really explore that, because that just I don't know, that's just rich storytelling potential there. They could go and tell these. They could go back and tell the story of Giannis's father and Hawkman during the Greek Civil War. I mean, come on, that's just awesome, potentially awesome. As Hawkman is getting ready to fly off to go do what we saw already in the previous pages, that's when we see the Hawk disc, which, interestingly, I just noticed the Hawk insignia in the middle of it is pointing one way, and then when we see it again, it's pointing the other. I think, unless I am no, it's not. I apologize. I am wrong. I must be thinking of other, when I was looking at other comics before recording, I think the Hawk insignia pointed to the other direction. but now it's pointing off to Hawkman's left. Anyway, he pulls out the disc from somewhere. Oh, it looks like he's reaching into this bag that he's carrying. He pulls out the disc, puts it on his chest, and suddenly, just like that, his civilian clothes disappear and his uniform / costume appears along with the wings. So this disc somehow does this. I've never seen Hawkman's costume portrayed in this way before, and I think it's really cool. 1, and 2, I want to know why, how does this work? But it's really cool. Like I said, he attaches. There's a clicking sound actually they show. I'm not sure what he's clicking to, because you don't see the straps that go across his the harness straps, that I should say, in the little tiny panel that I'm looking at. And there's a little clicking noise, and that's when the wings just appear. But what's really cool is that he's standing there with the sun in front of him, and the way, I think, or no, that's a glare off the back of him from the sun. So this confuses me, because it makes it appear like the wings are metallic and therefore reflective. But the way that they're drawn, I don't know, they look like feathers, like actual feather or some sort, synthetic feather of some sort. So I'm a little confused about that, but still a cool panel. The other thing I want to note here is that the wings appear to actually flap. They actually work. And so in previous incarnations of the character that I've seen, the wings are mostly ornamental, the way that they were drawn in the comics. I'm sure that certain artists have played with that over the years. I'm just not as familiar with it. But they, they flip back and they flip forward as if they're creating momentum, as if he's a bird. Which is not usually how he's portrayed, because it's the nth metal, the properties of that metal, which are partly anti-grav, and I think in the Return to Hawkman series from JSA, or maybe even Hawkman, the later Hawkman series, I can't remember which one, he explains that the nth metal also provides a certain amount of protection from the elements, which explains why he doesn't freeze to death, because he doesn't wear a shirt. It also helps heals him faster. I think maybe it provides some enhanced strength. I might be misremembering that. But anyway, the nth metal has a lot of properties that helps him. But I really like this addition, or at least, again, new to me, that the wings actually appear to work. So anyway, back on the disc transforming his clothes to the uniform, my initial thought was, is it actually a transformation, or is this just artistic license? So but then I read issue 2, and it shows this transformational aspect explicitly. But it also in issue 2, it shows Carter actually wearing the disc on his chest. It's attached to his chest in some fashion, which is different from what they showed here in issue 1. The next scene, like I say, the third of the fourth scene, 4 scenes in this book, is basically a chase scene for 7 pages. Hawkman is chased by Uuk Kung, the guardian of this Nautilus. Like I said, 7 pages of this. Finally, Hawkman gets tired of it and confronts Uuk Kung, which there's a great scene as they get out of the cavern. Hawkman's flying away. He says, "Too bad for you. Only one of us has wings." Because Hawkman says it questioningly as he looks back, and Uuk Kung suddenly sprouts wings himself. And what's really cool about it, though, is that Uuk Kung seems to be just as surprised as Hawkman about this turn of events. Hawkman here, though, makes a reference to the wingors, Wingors, and I meant to look that up. I assume this has something to do with, I want to say the Silver Age version of Hawkman, but I really don't know. So if you know, you can always let me know. But anyway, there's this, like I said, Hawkman gets tired of being chased and decides to confront Uek Kung, and that's when the mace thing appears. So he grabs the handle of the mace, and suddenly it's no longer just an empty handle. The mace itself appears with this, it appears to be glowing with energy. Again, the Hawk Girl reference to the Justice League animated series. But I think that is more that the ball of the mace appears, on the handle. So I'm wondering if this handle will transform into other weaponry, like an axe or, whatever, a spear. I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm looking forward to finding out. Cause I just think that's really cool, because how impractical is it to have a spiked mace? Although, no, it's spiked. Sometimes the maces are shown with just kind of, it's got, I don't know what the term for it is, just some raised bubbles on it. They're not spiked, but they're, it's got some surface, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. But anyway, if you look at the Hawk Girl mace from the Justice League animated series, you know what I'm trying to say. But like I said, it seems highly impractical that you would wear, as often has been shown in the past, Hawkman would wear the mace at his hip, and it's gotta hit him in the leg with these spikes. It's got to be uncomfortable at the very least. So I like this change that this handle makes the mace head appear. So it's a lot more practical, but it also begs the question of, how, what? So, or I guess I should say questions. Finally, I wanted to there's a quick thing in here where Uek Kung is chasing Hawkman. He goes underwater. And I like how Starkings portrays sound underwater with this. So Uek Kung is yelling at Hawkman, but he's got his face in the water, and it says, "Return the Nautilus." But it's done in a way that suggests that you're hearing it through the water, which I thought was really cool. So final scene. This is Hawkman has gone to London to visit Madame Xanadu. And Xanadu uses the Nautilus and her own magic to help reveal some, I guess, truths about Carter's reincarnations. And Carter has a vision of Earth's destruction relating to his origins, and thus sets up basically the reason for this series, or at least the quest that Hawkman has to go on to discover himself, the truth about himself, his past, what it means to himself now, to his future, Earth's future. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Reading this, though, it makes me really, really want this Madame Xanadu, this portrayal of Madame Xanadu. I want a Madame Xanadu series. I want her to be the magical person in the DC universe that people come to for help. Have her own adventure. I don't know. I've always dug the Madame Xanadu character, and I honestly haven't read a whole lot about her or of her in comics. I actually have her. Is it her first appearance? It's the single issue that was published way back when, of hers, and I have the later series. I have the run of that, but I haven't read it yet. So anyway, I want to see more of this character, and hopefully in this comic in Hawkman, if I can't get a Madame Xanadu series. Let's see here. So, like I said, Carter has a vision, and there's this wonderful 2-page spread of him kind of falling down through the pages, and we see all of these different versions of him. You have Prince Khufu, most notably positioned sort of in the middle of this. You've got the Silver Age version of him off to the right. You've got I believe the Hawk World version of him off to the left. Some others, I don't necessarily see the Golden Age version of him, unless it's the one character towards the bottom of this that's rather large in the background, wearing the more traditional Hawkman mask. But there are some other, great, all these different character designs of Hawkman that Hitch has thrown in here. We find out that not only has Carter been reincarnated throughout Earth's history, he's also appeared on other planets. Notably, they talk about Qatar Al of Krypton. Wow. There's also some other character from the planet Ran. Qatar Thul of Ran. That's who it is. So yeah, that's really cool. Like I said, we see the Silver Age, the Hawk World version, I think. The Shining Knight. So we found out in the Hawkman series, if not the JSA story, that, or maybe others, I honestly don't remember now, but Hawkman Carter Hall was Shining Knight. I mean, this is all retroactively done. He was also Nighthawk, the Western character, and Shiera was Cinnamon as well. So I like that they tied the history of the DC universe to this character in those ways. So we see, like I say, the Shining Knight. No Nighthawk character in this 2-page spread that I could find, but he does. He is shown in issue number 2. There's a Rocketeer-like design, the way that the helmet is with a jetpack. I thought that was that was a nice nod to that character. There's a Native American-looking version of the character. They're it's a feast for the eyes. Unfortunately, you don't get a whole lot. There's variations, but it's all variation of a theme. So they're not all that different, but some of them are just kind of cool looking. There's one that I'm looking at right now. He's, instead of the wings on his back, he's got the wings between his arms and his hips, which I thought that was kind of neat. The Qatar Al of Krypton, his hawk design, his hawk insignia on his chest is in the shape roughly of the pentagram, pentagram. Am I thinking of the right thing? The diamond shape. I think it's a pentagram. Or is pentagram the demonic thing? I always get those things confused. Anyway, roughly in the diamond shape, like Superman's S shield. So I thought that was a nice touch. As far as the reason for the series, or the impetus, or like I said, why, or the thing that he has to go find out more about, is that something having to do with him. So it says here, it started with an origin long ago forgotten, beginning with Earth, one that will bring slaughter to me and all the worlds I've known. I'm the only one who can stop it. And so you see the destruction on Earth as Carter is falling through this vision. And what you see in the background are these shaded or silhouetted. I think they're Thanagarian in their design, but I'm not sure of that really. But bad things are going to happen because of Carter unless he can figure something out. And so that sets up this series. Madame Xanadu says, "There's only one thing I can foretell. You will die 100 more deaths before you know the answer." And Carter says, "I was right. There's more to my story. I am Carter Hall. I am Hawkman, and I'm already too late." So yeah, I really like the setup of this. I do kind of worry though when you set up a hero's journey to be, they're the only one. For one, they're the reason for this danger, and 2, they're the only one who can stop it. Eventually, the story has to stop the danger. Otherwise, you run the risk of people being turned off about this never-ending plot thread. And then if you do resolve it, what comes next? I mean, obviously, so what I anticipate, of course, is that they will resolve this, or at least resolve it for now, and something else, Venditti and Hitch or whomever in the future will, assuming this book lasts, and I really hope it does, will set up the next adventure or set of adventures or whatever. It's the nature of monthly comics as they are. You have to have more and more stuff that the character has to do and accomplish. But the way that this is been set up so heavy-handedly, I'm a little worried about what that will mean for the future of the series. But yeah, as I've said, I really dug this. This is a great reintroduction of Hawkman in the DC universe. I can't wait to read more. Let's see, issue 2 stuff. This is Awakening Part 2, River of Time. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but I will say, as I read issue number 1, I was like I said, I was thinking, boy, let's explore the past of Hawkman. Let's explore these other lives. Let's go places and see things. I wanted to see him visit interesting corners of the DC universe, and we're starting to get that. So issue 2 has Carter accidentally time traveling and meets his past self, Prince Khufu, and they have a fight. And so it's just like, I want to see more of that. Interestingly, though, the modern version of Carter, his memory isn't intact. So he doesn't know everything that his past lives have encountered. And I don't know how much they played that up in previous series. Because I think sometimes he does know things, and some other times I don't know. I like I said, I haven't read a whole lot. I love the character, but I don't know a lot about his publication history and how he's been portrayed. But there's a lot of potential there. He's the very end of issue 2. What his discoveries in issue 2 leads him to Dinosaur Island, and I always love stories set on Dinosaur Island in the DCU, so I think that's where we're going to go in issue 3. Like I said, I want to see stories featuring Carter's past lives. I really want to know. I want to find out how will Kendra play into this, because Kendra was part of Dark Knight's Metal. She became Hawk Girl in this silver metallic Hawk Girl costume. How will she fit into this? What about Shiera? Is Kendra again the reincarnation of Shiera? And that may have been explicitly stated in Dark Knight's Metal. I don't remember. So if you know that, let me know. Just so much goodness, so much comic goodness in this. I'm really loving this series so far, and I can't wait to read more. Wow, yeah. It's such a delight to, considering the last New Age of Heroes book they looked at. I think that was episode 145, I believe, where I did not like it all that much. So it was nice to talk about a comic book that I'm really excited about for or in comparison. So anyway, yeah. And then finally, I just want to mention in issue number 1, the very last page of this, and I noticed that they're doing this in some other DC Comics. This is a DC Nation page, and it's how to draw Hawkman. And there's a little sort of thoughts from Bryan Hitch about Hawkman, and you get to see. Actually says, don't miss Hawkman number 1 on sale June 13th. And this is in Hawkman number 1. So, interesting they did that, but whatever. But there's a couple pencil drawings of Hawkman. But what was really cool about it is I mentioned how I drew a parallel between Carter and Indiana Jones. And as I was reading the book, and then I read this little DC Nation page, and that's exactly the vibe they're going for. Carter is like Indiana Jones in the archaeology and history, the journey through history aspects that they're trying to go for here. There's some talk about how his wings are an integral part of the character, and how Hitch is trying to incorporate his flying as a fighting strategy / martial art. And so now that he said that in this page, I'm going to be really looking for that. And as he says here, and if that doesn't work, this whole bird of prey aspect and using velocity and his legs and feet in combat, if that doesn't work, he's got the mace. Always the wonderful mace. So yeah, boy, like I said, I really love this comic so far, and I can't wait to read more. So there you go. That's Hawkman number 1, a little bit of number 2. I would like to return to this at some point, just to give just a touch base and see how things are going. But boy, out of the gate, they're doing a pretty bang up job. Maybe could have done, like I said, this whole idea of, in the new age of heroes books, I noticed this too, how we have very few scenes to tell the plot of the story, basically. And, 7 pages of a chase scene in this, those are the weak points of this, perhaps. Definitely the 7 pages taken up by that chase scene. But, well drawn by Hitch and company. But still, don't give me a lot of that in this book. Let's have a bit more, variations of storytelling. Let's play around with it some more. Let's not just do the cinematic stuff. Let's actually get into the nitty gritty of Hawkman and his history and how the character, will be shown and fight and all that good stuff. But otherwise, this has been a lot of fun and makes me want to go find more Hawkman stuff to read. All right, I think that's it. Nothing else to talk about this comic. I'm really curious what you think of this new Hawkman series. Do you like Hawkman? Do you like him as much as I do? Is he just, one of those second tier or perhaps even third tier or lower characters to you that you just don't care about? Boy, I'd really like to hear your thoughts, especially on this first issue or first couple issues. By the time this comes out, probably the third issue will be out, I think. But anyway, let me know. You can always email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can leave comments at the blog at longboxreview.com, or you can chat with me at longboxreview on Twitter. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.